Mr. Speaker, but I know in her heart she must be proud of this Liberal government.
Mr. Speaker, I can confirm he definitely does not know my mother. In fact, I think she should come in here as the finance... Other costly and useless photo op tour to escape the inflation, criminality, housing price crisis, and of course the scandal around his public safety minister. That minister who lost track of 600 foreign criminals on our streets, broke the Liberal promise to hire 1,000 new border guards, and was caught on tape admitting that the Liberal plan to harass farmers and duck hunters has nothing to do with saving lives and everything to do with preserving the Prime Minister's political fortunes. Will the Prime Minister put Canadian lives first and fire this minister?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, it's another day, but it's the same old Conservative, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we're about building the future. We're going to present a budget that's going to build this nation, Mr. Speaker. It's going to be a generational investment in our future. We're going to build the country. We're going to build jobs. We're going to create the opportunities for young people in this country. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7, and we hope the Conservative will vote for this budget because it's about building our nation, Mr. Speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Chihuahua Francois Philippe Champagne. Okay, so they're presenting a budget. They're presenting a budget in October. No, May? No, July? No, oh, sorry, November 4th. They're presenting a budget November 4th. Why November 4th? Because they were forced to do it. They weren't going to present a budget at all. They should have presented this immediately after their government actually took power. But here we are. Like, this is like turning your assignment in late by 8 months. This is the equivalent. And they're trying to crow and say that this is a great thing. I have nothing to say other than the fact that all that we've seen is everything get worse under Mark Carney. And you're trying to say this is about generational investment, Mr. Speaker. Like, that's what we're talking about here.
My mother and people like her actually built this nation, and today is my mom's birthday. Thank you. And it reminded me that even when my school teacher parents were struggling, we always had delicious, nutritious meals, meat and potatoes on our plate, and we had to eat all the broccoli. But when I called her today for her birthday wishes, she said grocery prices are terrible. I didn't have the heart to tell her, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister's bait and switch is the culprit. Will the Prime Minister give my mother the ultimate birthday gift and end all Liberal taxes on groceries?
So this is funny. This is actually a really funny retort from Pierre, but it's also very clever because him bringing up his mother and talking about the fact that it's her birthday, it introduces a potential faux pas on the Liberals, because the Liberals would look really, really bad if they insulted her mom, if they insulted the fact that it's her birthday. It would not look good at all. So this is actually a very interesting play from Pierre Poilievre in invoking his mom in this. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Liberals actually respond to this criticism while navigating around the whole issue of him bringing up his mom.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
I wish the member opposite's mother a happy birthday. But I'm also very sad to tell her that her son voted against the school nutrition program. Disappointed because when I was there and I spoke to teachers and volunteers and met with students, they talked about how this healthy nutrition break for their students helped those students reach the goal of careers like architect, teacher, engineer, tradesperson.
What? What are you talking about? Okay, so first of all, as predicted, they had to address the elephant in the room, which was, it was his mom's birthday. So, you know, Patty Haidu wishes Pierre's mom a happy birthday. Had to do that. completely circled around that, didn't even touch it. But then says that, oh, well, you know, Pierre voted against the school nutrition program, and when I was there, they were telling me how these you know, nutritious foods that we're providing them have helped students attain the jobs of architect. What are you talking about? A, there's very few students that are actually receiving any of this, and B, it's only been for like 6 months. How do you get from public school to be through high school, all the way through university, and then achieve a career of architect in 6 months? Is this like some crazy liberal superfood that they're feeding these kids that is making them age faster, learn faster, and grow faster? This is absolutely ridiculous.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, my mother, as a substitute teacher, sometimes taught math, and she would not be happy with the Parliamentary Budget Officer's report today, Mr. Speaker, which reveals that this Prime Minister is more expensive than even Justin Trudeau. Wow. The PBO reports that the deficit is now 2/3 higher than the one Trudeau left behind. Over the next 5 years, this Prime Minister will add an amazing $300 billion of additional inflationary debt, twice what Trudeau would have added, all of which will add to the cost of living for Canadians. Why is it how is it possible that any Prime Minister could have been more expensive than Trudeau?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you kind of heard that right. What does that translate into deficit payments? Well, what that means is this year, we are expecting, as a nation, to spend $55 billion just on the interest for the debt. That's what that means. And what this also means is that by 2030, we will be spending over $82 billion a year on the debt. $82 billion. This is insanity. Now, the good news is that's if nothing changes. New governments can come in and completely change that. That's the positive news about this. So Canadians, take heart, because you will have an opportunity to prevent the 2030 figure from actually happening. But this is the disgusting truth about Mark Carney. Mr. Fiscal Responsibility. Mr. I'm going to cut spending. He walked into government and I guess he saw the money tree, because it seems that he's not even looking at a spending limit when it comes to this government and our taxpayer money. It's insane. It is completely insane.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by wishing the mother of the Leader of the Opposition happy birthday. And I'm sure that she's looking at the TV today, Mr. Speaker. Question. I have good news for his mother, Mr. Speaker. We cut our taxes, Mr. Speaker, along with 22 million Canadians. I don't know his mother, Mr. Speaker, but I know in her heart she must be proud of this Liberal government. That we cut taxes, that we're fighting for families, that we're going to build the country of the 21st century. Let's celebrate, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I can confirm he definitely does not know my mother. In fact, my mother knew how to budget better than anyone. She could stretch a dollar farther. In fact, I think she should come in here as the finance minister. We sure wouldn't have a PBO report showing the government adding $1/3 of $1 trillion of extra deficits. We know that every single dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Why don't they know that?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
See how they're they're using the invocation of Pierre's mom as almost this football that is being batted around now, and it's playing to Pierre's advantage here because it's his mom, so he gets to shape the narrative however he wants. So, you know, the fact that that Champagne says, oh, well, you know, his mother would be proud of the Liberal government. You know, that was a decent jab. It was a decent attempt at a jab at his mom. You got to give him that. But then Pierre comes right back with, yeah, I can confirm that he doesn't know my mother at all. And I'm glad that Pierre brought it back to this is taxpayer money. And this is what a lot of these politicians forget. It's what a lot of people and companies forget. When you work for a company and you're involved in budgeting, I've seen it happen before. It used to happen to me when I was initially involved in money. You don't really regard it as money. It doesn't click in because it's not yours, and you don't see it in your bank account. You see it on your budget, you see it on your P&L, which is your profit and loss, but you don't really register it as money. You don't, because it's not yours. And because it's not your money, you take a different approach to how you manage it and spend it. Oh, I went over budget. Oh, well. But for the people that really take their job seriously and understand the wider implications on managing that money, you learn to treat it as if it is yours. And those are the people that are really, really good at managing budgets in government, in corporations, and of course at home, because it is your money. So if you don't treat taxpayer money as if it is yours, then in my opinion, you are not qualified whatsoever to be managing the budget of Canadians. You should be making sure that every single penny is spent wisely and that you're getting value for it, because that's what Canadians are taxed for, and that's what we deserve.
The honourable member for St. John. Mr. Speaker, Postal Service is an essential service. The federal government's hastily improvised reform of Canada Post completely overlooks this and overlooks thousands of Quebecers. There are seniors who need to get their mail at home, especially those who live in rural areas. There are also people with disabilities who are concerned. Can the government guarantee to all Quebecers that they will continue to receive the door-to-door services they deserve? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. I agree with her fully that the mail is an essential service for Canadians from coast to coast to coast, and that's why we're bringing in reforms that will make Canada Post viable in the long run. When it comes to community postal boxes, there's a service that adapts for the service for older Canadians and for disabled Canadians. We want to make sure that all Canadians still have access to their mail while preserving and protecting the viability long-term of Canada Post.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's an important one because there was a press release today and it is significant regarding Canada Post. Check it out. Ottawa directs Canada Post to end door-to-door delivery of mail across the country. What does that mean, folks? Well, it means a few things. So, number one, Ottawa has ordered Canada Post to stop all door-to-door delivery. So, about 4 million addresses, which is around 1/4 of Canadians, still receive door-to-door delivery. Those households will be converted to community mailboxes, bringing Canada Post in line with around 3/4 of Canadians who already use them. Sucks to be rural Canadians, I guess, Liberal government? And this is going to save an estimated $400 million annually. What does this also mean? It means also that they're going to be closing some post offices in areas that were once rural but are now suburban, and they will be shut down. And part of the cost cutting is restructuring to actually stabilize Canada Post because it's bleeding money. Now, this is also talking about the financial crisis at Canada Post, which is related to the bleeding of money. And it's basically, it's almost the nail in the coffin for Canada Post. And this article says that Canada Post is basically, they're insolvent. They're done. So the analysis on this is saying that any more bailouts is just going to be wasted money. It's untenable. And they have to completely restructure the entire business. So that's going to be interesting. And this is in the middle of a labor dispute. They don't have a contract yet. Negotiations have gone on for over 20 months. And a new offer is expected to come on the 26th. And this is probably going to be a very sobering offer for the union. Now, what can Canadians expect? Canadians can expect slower mail delivery because non-urgent mail is no longer going to be sent across the country via air. That's going to be in ground transport. And I bet they're not going to be using electric vehicles. Just saying. So you'll probably have to wait more than a week longer to actually receive letters. And this is expected to save around $20 million annually. We'll see if that actually pays out. But this is a significant issue that is actually going to be affecting Canadians that still rely on letters and paper mail, and especially in the rural areas of Canada. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how the populace responds to this, considering the poll swing already in terms of the Liberals going on a nosedive while the Conservatives seem to be surging in the polls.
Member for Thornhill.
What do you call a person who says one thing in public but admits the exact opposite in private? Most Canadians have their own word for it, but around here in this place, we just call them liberals. The public safety minister admits that his government's gun buyback is a politically motivated scam that just won't work. Those are his words. He's letting convicted criminals roam the streets and shoot up our neighborhoods so he can play politics and pretend that he's actually doing something about it. Everyone behind him is also wondering, when's he getting fired?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
And ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Lantsman, it seems to be a foregone conclusion that at some point, Gary Anandasangari, Minister of Public Safety, is going to be the Minister of the Backbench on the Gary Anandasangari archipelago, as I said the other day. So, and it's not just the Conservatives that are talking about this. The political talking heads on many of these shows are all saying the same thing. And they're saying, if this story continues to get legs and it continues to just hang around, the Liberals are going to have no choice but to have Gary fired, because they cannot have this disaster of a minister hanging around and causing even more problems for this gun buyback program, because it's just going to lead to another Liberal program that is put out that is going to be a complete nothing burger, not work, divide Canadians, and cause even more political problems for the already falling Liberals. This is what it's going to cause. So the question is going to be: is Mark Carney, is he going to let people push him around and make him fire his own guy? That's going to be the question. And I don't know if it's going to work. Mark Carney may keep him around, and it may cause a lot of political problems for him, because he does not like being pushed around verbally, physically, or politically. So this is the issue with Mark Carney. He may not be able to actually succumb to the pressure, and it could be a huge problem for him that follows him for the next few months.
Recording this week, the public safety minister told the truth and admitted his Liberal gun grab is a failure. It won't improve public safety, it will be expensive, and it's politically motivated. Then on CTV's Power Play, he refuted his own words, saying that they were in jest. Taking people's property without consulting them isn't funny. Wasting $750 million for the sake of crass politics isn't funny. And demonizing vetted, tested, law-abiding Canadians isn't funny. The only funny thing here is that this minister still has his job. When will the Prime Minister fire him?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, law-abiding citizens abide by the law. We launched a program this week to support those who are law-abiding Canadians to be able to give their AR-15s and other prohibited weapons in order to obtain compensation, Mr. Speaker. It's a fair way to treat law-abiding citizens. It's about ensuring that our streets are safer. It is in line with the work that we're doing at the border with $1.3 billion in investments, Bill C-2, which is before the House today, as well as adding another 1,000 CBSA and RCMP officers.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk, Interlake Eastman.
This man is a walking contradiction. Canadians are law-abiding. They're law-abiding, which is why we're wanting them to turn over their firearms to make our streets safer. How are taking weapons from law-abiding Canadians, especially when the data says they're law-abiding, and the data says that less than 1% of law-abiding Canadians are actually involved in gun crime. How is taking weapons away from law-abiding Canadians and making our streets safer if they are law-abiding? Mr. Sangari. You know what? I'm interested in asking that question. So, I'm going to email Mr. Gary Anandasangari, and I'm going to invite him on Northern Perspective because I want him to answer that question for all of us, because I think we deserve an answer to that paradox. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will send this email, and we will see what kind of response we get. Pretty sure we're not going to get any, but any response that we do get is going to be an interesting one, because Canadians deserve answers, especially when this guy has said two things that are complete opposite of each other, and he's trying to equate them as the exact same. You cannot say that all Canadians are law-abiding, yet we're taking your property from you because we're worried that your property will be used in an illegal act, despite the fact that we are confident that you are abiding by the rules. It's a complete joke, it's a complete paradox, and he needs to answer these questions for real.